Buy low, buy low. It's off to trade we go. You ready to dig for some gems on the trade market? Look, there are some guys who are very rough in the stat line so far early in the season, but they could turn out to be very valuable the rest of the way. And yes, there are some big name players that I bet you can get for a bargain right now. I get comments like, no one's trading that guy in my league. Well, I guarantee you there are some leagues that these trades are happening. I see it all the time, get questions about. Look, some of these players I've gotten questions straight up about, should I drop him? And that includes Randy Arozarena. It's tough to be patient with a hitter who's doing basically nothing for you, and it's almost more frustrating when you did draft them early because the expectations are so much higher. And so you would think a guy like Arozarena, you'd have to give him the benefit of the doubt, but that doesn't always happen. So before I dig into the stats or any of the other players I'm going to discuss, let me just say I usually have a little checklist I go through to decide whether there's reason to panic or not. Why is Randy Arozarena only hitting 154 with 2 home runs as we get to the end of April? Question 1. Is there an injury here? In his case, nope. In fact, he's among the league leaders in games played this season at 24 already. There was nothing that bothered him in spring, no IL stint, no injury that we haven't heard about unless he's hiding something, but I don't think that's it. So nothing wrong physically. Is this a case where age is catching up to him? Well, in his case, no. He's 29. Okay, maybe a little past prime. Usually hitters in major leagues, you're considered in your prime age between like 26 to 28. I mean, come on, this guy should be hitting just as well. Is this a relatively unproven player who maybe had an outlier season last year, maybe some negative regression is just hitting him? Not at all. In fact, that's why Arozarena is a consensus top 50 draft pick, because he's coming off 3 straight 2020 seasons. Is he just on a bad team, a bad offense, bad situation? Not at all. Tampa, still pretty good. So now that we've gone down the list and there's really nothing to explain why Arozarena is struggling early, then we have to just say he's just not hitting well, and that's the end of the story. Look, sometimes it is that simple. Guys peak at certain times, guys struggle at certain times. It's just a slow start. Maybe he's waiting for the weather to warm up in Tampa. Who knows? But there's really absolutely no reason to worry about Arozarena. So if somebody is worried, you definitely want to take advantage. Because remember, this is a guy who will get you power and speed, a decent batting average. He'll score a ton of runs, everything that you want. Now, his sprint speed is down a little bit from previous years, is trending down the last couple of seasons. But in Tampa, they're running pretty wild there. Everybody's getting stolen bases, even a guy like Harold Ramirez. And Arozarena has already grabbed a few stolen bases. So no reason to worry. Even if he's lost maybe a bit of a step, he's still going to get plenty of steals. And the power will come. His max EV right now ranks the 90th percentile. That's one of the earliest stabilizing stats that you can look at to say whether a guy could wind up hitting the ball hard throughout the season. He's still got it. It just hasn't come yet. So sure, in your league, nobody's probably dropping Arozarena, and maybe somebody's not giving up and selling low, but it's always worth fielding an offer. Now, another supposed fantasy stud who doesn't check all of those boxes this season is Rafael Devers. Devers has a track record, proven stud in his prime age. There's nothing to worry about except for the injury part. He has not hit the injured list, but he missed another game just on Tuesday, and this is starting to be a little worrisome. Now, this is not something that Devers is known for. In fact, 3 straight seasons, he's put up over 600 plate appearances. He's Mr. Consistent. But maybe that's part of the problem. He refuses to go on the shelf. And so whatever's bothering him, he's not going to let it sideline him, except that it is. But obviously the fact that he hasn't been placed on the injured list means that it's nothing serious. When he's back, you just got to hope that he's 100% and that the bat comes around. He's batting a mere 188 right now. That will come, and look, the plate discipline is still impeccable as ever. A 1.7% K minus BB. Reminder, that is strikeouts minus walk rate. There's usually a bit of a gap here for hitters. Major league average for strikeouts is about 22%. For walks these days, it's like 8-9%. So when you have a hitter who has a number that is so small, that means they've got a great eye, and Devers has always had a good eye. He's not striking out anymore. It's not an issue. If you have Devers, you've just got to be patient here. If you don't have Devers, I would be trying right here, right now, to buy low if possible, because it's frustrating for the Devers owner who's got him, can't play him, not getting anything out of him. Look, Boston, if you look at that lineup these days, you can hardly recognize it unless you happen to be a Sox fan, because there's so many guys that have hit the shelf. Tristan Casas, very, very unfortunately, that one hurts. He's going to be in the IL, looks like a while. Tyler O'Neill's been out, although he is coming back. Vaughn Grissom hasn't even played this year, but he's coming back. Masataka Yoshida has been playing. He's missed a couple of games here and there, but he's also not hitting very well. Look, I do think this Red Sox offense will get better over time. It's just going to take maybe another week or two, which means the window for Devers is still at least slightly ajar. Again, it might be hard to pry him away from somebody who spent like a third, fourth round pick on him, but it doesn't hurt to try. If you love watching baseball and playing fantasy baseball, you probably love playing MLB The Show on PlayStation, Xbox, or Switch. Well, the best place to get those stubs without paying full price is MMOAH.com. On top of their already discounted price, you get an extra 5% off by using code ENDGAME. You can build your perfect Diamond Dynasty even faster by clicking the link in the description below and using our promo code. All right, now let's talk about some Cincinnati Reds. You might be wondering what's up with Jonathan India. He hasn't been in the lineup for a couple of days. Not an injury here, it's just an illness. It's sidelined him. You might be excused for assuming that they just benched him because of the way he's hitting or not hitting. India had a really solid spring, and in fact, he had a really good first week of the season. Now his batting average is down to 174, and he doesn't have a single homer. But this is a case where things should definitely turn around, not just because they can't get worse, but if you look here, the advanced metrics support this. His expected batting average is a full 100 points higher. That's right, he should, according to StatCast, be hitting 274. And I'm going to mention plate discipline again because that's so important, such a good indicator of how a batter is really performing. He's got a 3.5% K-minus BB rate. That's really good. In fact, for him, that is by far a career best. He's walking at a 16% clip. So very encouraging stuff from India, except for the actual numbers he's putting out. This is the time to get him on the cheap. Disappointment combined with a couple of games missed, and Cincinnati has, well, it's been the Ellie show. Like, he's showed up, but a lot of the other players have not offensively. Look, you can get India probably pretty cheap right now. Grab him. He starts to hit again. Maybe gets back to that leadoff spot again. He will eventually start producing, and maybe you can just set and forget at second base. Now I'm going to talk about a pitcher in Cincinnati. One of my favorites preseason was Hunter Green, and he still is. You know, the leagues I didn't draft him, I'm probably going to go out and try to get him right now. He's coming off a decent, not great performance, gave up 4 earned runs in 7 innings. But even that start was still encouraging for me, although he only struck out 6 batters, which for him is pretty low. In fact, that does tie his season low. He only struck out 6 when he went 6 innings a couple of weeks ago. But he didn't walk many batters, didn't give up home runs. He's overall performing pretty well, and he should be performing a lot better according to the X stats. Right now, batters are hitting 250 off of him, which is still okay, but his expecting batting average against is 176. If you want to look just at ERA, it's a stat that matters for fantasy, his expected ERA is a full 2 runs lower than what his actual ERA is. Now, in reality, you know, these things don't always line up, right? There's never going to be a perfect correlation between expected stats, actual stats, and so it might be his ERA does run a little bit higher, but it should definitely be lower. I mean, he's not pitching bad as it is, but it should be better. And again, this guy's going to get you a ton of strikeouts, so even if the ERA is a little bit above average, it's still worth it. So I'm going to go out there and scoop him up as much as possible. What about another flamethrower, this time a southpaw? Garrett Crochet for the White Sox was really not drafted anywhere except for maybe a late round flyer the last week of the season when we found out he was actually going to be a starter and the opening day starter for the White Sox. And look, you might not want any piece of that White Sox team whatsoever, and I wouldn't blame you, but as much as Crochet has kind of fallen off lately and disappointed relative to the first couple of starts where he was lights out, you still got to keep some faith here. And yeah, I'm going to point to the X stats again because now that we've got a few starts under our belt for these pitchers, we've got almost a month of play here, these stats will start to mean something. Out of all the differences here between expected ERA and actual ERA, his is the 4th highest. His ERA is almost double what his xERA is. He should be pitching to a 2.19 ERA, which would be elite. And if you just forget the differences and look at xWOBA, the very telling stat for pitchers in general, that would be his expected weighted on-base average. Talking about not just, run scoring, but hits, walks, strike, everything. His xWOBA is the 4th best among all qualified pitchers. The bottom line is he's pitching like a great pitcher. It's just a couple of bad starts have really inflated those numbers. But you can't give up here. If you got Crochet, of course, hold on to him. But right now, people might be dropping him. I wouldn't blame them. Go ahead and pick him up. And if somebody still has him sitting on the bench or is ready to move on from him, take advantage. And then this might be the last call to buy low on Michael Garcia, another sleeper here. Start out hot, has cooled down considerably, but hey, there's going to be some better days ahead. In fact, just tonight, already got a couple singles, got that batting average almost back to 200. But again here, the expected batting average is 60 points higher than his actual average, and this is a guy who is still batting leadoff for the Royals. Remember, that offense has been much better. It's been really up and down, of course. They were bad and then amazing, and now they're kind of bad again, but I think they'll kind of stabilize at some point. But look, despite the fact that Garcia's batting average isn't great, he's doing exactly what you'd want in terms of stealing bases for already. But how about this? He's already matched last season's home run total with 4. That's right. In less than a month, he's already matched last season. This is very significant for a batter that we really did not expect maybe even double-digit home runs from. If he can get to 20 and the steals, I mean, he should at least come away with 30 steals by season's end. That alone gives you value, even if that batting average just doesn't even improve at all. And it will. If he can bat 250, 20-plus home runs, 30-plus steals, runs scored at the top of that lineup, we're talking about a top 10 player at his position. And even if someone did draft Garcia or pick him up really early, nobody's counting on him to be a starter, I think, season long for them. They're probably viewing him more as a corner or middle infielder. Remember, he qualifies at both third base and shortstop in most leagues. This is the time to go out and get him because you can get Garcia, for a player that is comparable in terms of, I would say, perceived value, but Garcia is going to far outproduce those guys. If you can get Garcia in exchange for someone like Matt Chapman, Cabrian Hayes, that's a steal. Like, I would even swap out some of those Cubs who have been disappointing, like Dansby Swanson and Nico Horner, qualify at shortstop. Remember, Garcia slots in there. I still think that's going to be an upgrade. You should always be looking for value on the trade market. It never hurts to propose a trade. You think a guy might be untouchable, but you don't know until you try. You should also be looking to improve your team always through the waiver wire, and sometimes that means getting those stashes, those rookies who haven't even debuted yet. That's why I always do beat the breakout, looking for some guys who are ready to make impact now.